Hi, and welcome back, guys. Hope you're all having a great day out there. The price of XRP will absolutely explode when most people are least expecting it, and the historical chart of XRP proves that. However, due to market psychology and the slow periods in between, many people have a hard time seeing that and believing that. Now, in this video, I want to talk to you about not just what has happened for XRP in the past, but more importantly, what is coming. We're going to get you up to date on what's being said about the Clarity Act, what Brad Garlinghouse had to say here today about XRP, David Schwartz talking about XRP, Bank of International Settlements, a whole host of things in this video. Now, I want to start right here. This is out of Crypto in America. Eleanor Terrett put this out talking about how the global head of policy for Kraken, who has been in the news a lot here recently, guys, we know that we just found out they're partnered with the NASDAQ. We know that they got their Fed Master account. Well, their global head of policy here today put out, the faster we get regulatory clarity here in the U.S. for intermediaries, the more the traditional market participants are going to be able to take advantage of that opportunity. And this kind of piggybacks on what we stated yesterday, which is that the general counsel for these big banks out there is telling them, hey, we want you to get in, but you need regulatory certainty. And as we inch closer day by day, I want to play you this 43-second clip from the global head of policy of Kraken because I absolutely agree with him. Where do we stand on market structure right now? A lot of great progress this week, not just on the rewards issue, but I think, looking across the outstanding issues. So we're feeling really good. I think the industry has again worked constructively. Huge credit to the White House, the House and Senate, both sides of the aisle. I think sort of working through some of these outstanding issues, there's a real commitment to get this done. But, tying it back to this master account announcement, the faster we get regulatory clarity here in the U.S. for intermediaries, the more the traditional market and traditional market participants are going to be able to take advantage of the opportunity. So, I think there's a real unlock here with clarity. For traditional market participants, and I think we're all eager to get there, whether you're part of the crypto ecosystem or the traditional market ecosystem. And I absolutely agree with him. It's not just him saying there's going to be a massive unlock here, but he's pretty close to what's being said and done out there. Again, having just recently partnered with the NASDAQ, they got their Fed Master account. Kraken is extremely close to being close to what's being said and done out there. Now, speaking of what's being said and done, out there, I wanted to show you this. Eleanor Terrett put it out here today new. The American Bankers Association Summit in Washington, we saw that Senator Angela Alsobrooks told a room full of community bankers they will likely have to make some compromise on the Clarity Act, reminding them that perfect cannot be the enemy of good, which is something Brad Garlinghouse has stated a lot here recently when it comes to getting that bill across the line. Quote, I think I have to level set that all of us will probably walk away just a little bit unhappy. The compromise that myself, as well as Senator Tillis, have been working on is one we believe will help prevent deposit flight and allow innovation to grow at the same time. So, to make both sides happy as we see what is coming to this market, we saw Elon Musk here today saying X Money is early public access will launch next month, and I do believe there's something going on behind the scenes with that. But Coin Bureau here today put out big U.S. banks may sue over crypto bank licenses. And so this isn't going on all of this without a fight, of course. Banking giants like Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan, American Express are considering suing the U.S. OCC over its decision to grant National Trust Bank charters in crypto firms, of course Ripple being one of them. And so, there's a threat out there, but they know that this industry is inevitable, is going to continue to expand, and they don't want it at this point to all go overseas. So, I do think there's going to be a compromise, and we are going to see something this year. Now, Brad Garlinghouse put 3 contents, 4 global office visits, 5 days, crossed too many time zones to count. And recently, Monica Long, president of Ripple, and I, he writes, along with others on the Ripple leadership team, traveled to Dublin, London, Singapore, and Sydney to meet with the Ripple team, of course many of whom joined from acquisitions of G Treasury, Hidden Road, Rail, Palisade, and Solvaxis. And a few notes from the road. He writes, Number 1, centers of gravity. Business and/or employees are never stagnant. Getting out of the U.S. coastal mindset is imperative. It was extreme or incredibly energizing to hear from new and long-time Ripplers on what moves the needle where they are. Also, culture cannot be taken for granted. More than ever, we're championing a maniacal focus on eliminating bureaucracies for employees to be owners. Don't confuse activity with progress. Also, number 3, adoption doesn't happen overnight. Platforms is greater than point solutions. Meet customers where they are, not where they might be in a couple years. Number 4, AI is becoming a fundamental part of our products, especially in cash forecasting, liquidity management, real-time for the office of the CFO. Employee productivity may be where AI starts, but the end goal is much bigger. And lastly, 2026, listen closely, is shaping up to be another defining year. We're in the right markets with the right capabilities across payments, custody, liquidity, and treasury management. There's a huge opportunity ahead, and we are making sure XRP is at the center of it. This is something he continuously says. A lot of people say, well, he can say whatever. But he is consistent with saying that XRP is the heart of everything. XRP means everything to Ripple. It is the North Star. And right now, as we take a look at what is going on in this digital revolution pushing forward, I have to understand that XRPL uses the same atomic settlement model as the Bank of International Settlements Project Meridian, which Bank of International Settlements here recently put out. Smoke Dog, who I'm looking to try to get on the show on the 25th, as well as Maximus Crypto and Mr. Man. Thank you to those of you here recently had put in the comment section who you'd like to see considered to come on the channel. That's what I'm going to look to do more so over the coming months, is bringing more on the channel that actually are putting out quality, good, factual information to help the XRP community. He writes, yes, the XRPL uses the same atomic settlement model as Bank of International Settlements Project Meridian. As you can see here, the NSL's purpose is to ensure that cross-ledger exchange either completes everywhere or aborts everywhere, which this is under functional architecture. In this configuration, the XRPL functions as deterministic coordination layer, similar as described in the Bank of International Settlements Project Meridian. Now, before I get into talking more about, the potential of XRP, what's happened but what's coming, and I wanted to show you what Reese Merrick had put out here today, because this helps set the stage in talking about this. What is happening right now in this revolution? Stablecoins processed 33 trillion in 2025. That, my friends, is 2x, 2 times more than Visa's entire annual volume. That is massive. As Ripple, he writes, we've been building for this moment for years. RLUSD is our answer, dollar-backed, enterprise-grade, built for institutions that are now showing up. The infrastructure is ready, the demand is here. Who's using them and why? The growth is staggering, 72% year-over-year 2025, 146% of active users year-over-year in 106 countries. Market cap hitting $320 billion. We know that Turkey is the largest digital asset market driven by currency volatility and demand for dollar-denominated assets. Nigeria alone seeing $59 billion in annual remittances. And what are people actually doing with them? Well, cross-border B2B, bank-to-business payments up 733%, which is really the bread and butter of Ripple's entire business, is business-to-business, working with those institutions. We look at Stellar, and they work with a lot of business, but of course in working with, like the likes of MoneyGram, they're more so retail peer-to-peer versus Ripple being business-to-business. Now, $226 billion of global stablecoin flows. And so, Things are moving quickly, and still oftentimes a lot of people will say, well, what does RLUSD mean for XRP? It increases XRPL activity big time. RLUSD adoption drives more transactions on the ledger, complements XRP in payments. RLUSD provides stable value for holding and transacting USD, enhances liquidity in trading, attracts institutional adoption, and expands ecosystem utility. And so, RLUSD as a stablecoin is absolutely massive for XRP. Now, when we talk about what XRP has done in the past and looking at the price specifically from all-time low at $0.27 around mid-2014 with its recent peak at 366, this represents a multiple of roughly, to be exact, 1,370. And so, as we take a look at the price of XRP, and of course the historical price chart for XRP proving alone that it will go through those periods where it's flat, feels like nothing's going to happen, and then bam, absolutely explodes, pops out of nowhere. Here. Several times throughout history it's happened with XRP, where a lot of people don't want to believe it, they'll give up on XRP, and then it will absolutely explode out of nowhere. And we know that XRP has done over 1,000x already under those conditions, under a market that for a long time had Gary Gensler trying to lead by rules of enforcement, as the market has been the Wild West wanting regulation. Yes, I'm incredibly bullish for the Clarity Act and regulations to come to this market. That's going to act as another catalyst in my personal opinion, but under these circumstances, of course, this was a market highly unregulated. And this is a market that was driven by regular market dynamics. If we take a look from lows from when XRP actually started all-time low to where its peak was at, we're looking over 1 to 300x, 1 to 371x. And something like Microsoft that's done 1,000x as well, it's reliant on things like the balance sheet and the company performance, where this is a utility token. And as we move forward and see the progression of this, the progress of this space with stablecoins, ETFs, tokenization, as Larry Fink, CEO of BlackRock, has stated himself, the tokenization of everything is coming. That is what is going to drive a tremendous amount of value for XRP on-chain. Whether this clarity happens here in the States and gets pushed offshore overseas, we're going to continuously see the expansion of this digital asset space. And so, I want to play this 1-minute clip. This is a 2-minute clip, but I want to play you about 1 minute of it. David Schwartz talking about XRPL's winning theory here. Diana from Invest with Dave. What on-chain metric would convince you that the XRPL is winning? So, I think I'm looking at that pivot. So, what we're looking for enterprise adoption. And then we're looking to see that driving retail adoption. So, first what you want to see is like a high volume of things like tokenized treasuries, tokenized equities, stablecoins. You want to see a lot of that. But then what we're going to look for lending as another example. Like we want to see those things, but those things could to some extent just be using the ledger as like a database. What we want is them to use it as a sort of common pool of value. And so, then what you're going to start to look for is like, are people taking these tokenized treasuries and then deciding that they want exposure to a portfolio of loans? And so, they're trading one to the other. And so, the fact that the two are on the same system generates some value. And so, talking about the value, talking about the utility, and as we move forward and really look at 2026, being the year production actually see this all come to light. Now, also, I'm going to leave. I appreciate both your time and support, and I will see you all in the next one.